This is the New York City FC Pregame Live. Tonight, New York City look to make it 4 wins in a row against the New England Revolution. And now, here are your hosts, Glenn Crooks and Matty Lawrence.
Yeah, man, we are at Gillette Stadium in Foxboro, Mass. You're seeing 3/4 of a scoreboard here. We've been told it's the largest. It beats Jerry Jones. It's a little
his
bit of a
ego. It beats the size of his ego. No,
it's the both. We've got Bob Kraft here, right? So it's Kraft and Jones, and there you see. You can't see the R in the Revolution there if you're looking in the right-hand screen. If you're just listening to this, you have no idea what we're talking about. But there's this mass. This is bigger than Citi Field's big scoreboard that we get a chance to look at when we're doing the New York City games there, like we did when the New York Red Bulls, for the first time in the Hudson River Derby, came to Citi Field to play New York City FC. The City Football Club with the 2-1 victory. Montse Bakrar with a game winner. A wonderful opening goal just 3 minutes into the match. And 3 wins in a row, 6 wins in 7, just 1 loss in 9. And today, Matty, New York City is gunning for their 3rd consecutive win on the road, which hasn't happened since 2019. But let me set it up with one more thing before you go. Before playing New England the first time, this is the second game and final game of the regular season series, April 13th, Yankee Stadium. New York City wins that one. They get the clean sheet 2-0. The U22 initiatives, the Argentinians, Agustin Ojeda and Julian Fernandez scoring. New York City entered that match in 13th place in the table. Well, that's the start of this 6 wins in 7. They're now 3rd in the table, 23 points ahead of the New York Red Bulls. So what has happened, Matty? That was a pretty big surge in a short period of time.
yeah, it was. I think it happens in football, in sport as a whole, doesn't it? When you suddenly find a way to win one game, winning breeds winning, and all of a sudden you feel full of confidence. The lack of belief that the team had at the beginning of the season, the one win from 7, just suddenly transformed. It was just diametrically opposed. Didn't know how to win, now don't know how to lose almost.
Yeah.
And let's hope that carries on today. Look, I wasn't there at Citi Field, unfortunately, as my mother would say. The poor old ducky was feeling a little bit under the weather.
We missed you. What a game to miss.
So I struggled, as I said to you.
So you've missed MLS Cup and a Hudson River Derby. Those are the only 2 games you missed.
Yeah, no, but they're the only 2 games I've missed in about 7 years. Yeah, go figure. But that's fine. Look, I don't mind if I miss games.
It was still a great moment for John Rojas out of Portland.
Absolutely.
He thanks you dearly.
No, but look, if I miss games and
No, I know.
New York City FC play well and we win.
That's true.
I don't mind that either as well. I just hope it doesn't go so far as Nick Cushing, like elbows.
You're not superstitious, are you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's not Nick Cushing because he can get rid
Nick
of it a
says
lot
he's
quicker.
not superstitious,
That's good,
so
then.
I think you're in good shape.
I'll
I think
hold him to that.
So this opening goal, and we're going to have Nick describe it from a pregame briefing with him, which will be heard on the live commentary coming up at 7:15 on the New York City FC network. And then if you're watching along with Matty here and myself, you'll be able to see the goal while Nick talks about it a little bit. Let's make sure I've got the right one here, and then we'll come back. But this is it. At the end, Nick says it's the perfect goal.
And the Wolf goal was really sensational. I would imagine that when it goes through Matt Freese and it's a build-out like that, and then it finishes with Wolf getting his first, that's got to be satisfying.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I spoke to the team, is like, you coach, so you all understand this. Like, I really don't like looking at the opposition. I really don't enjoy scouting the opposition and preparing for them, just purely because I understand you have to do it, right? And it is a part of preparing the team. But I believe my job is to prepare the team to play against anybody and to have the ability and the capability to solve the problem in the moment. So when you play a pressing team, there's only 2 or 3 or 4 ways that team can press you, right? And you have to have the ability to recognise it in the moment. Our biggest principle in our team is recognising the structure of the opposition. And once you recognise the structure, whether it be our pressing moments or our build-out moments, you can then have the positional play to take advantage of that. And if you look at the first goal, when they jump the winger, Kevin O'Toole's position is really key because Burke has to play, he has to come low early. And then Santi's position to be able to play on the ball side or switch it to the opposite side. Hannes and Tavon are in position. It ultimately is the perfect goal.
Yeah, and the number of things that have to work out there. And the New York Red Bulls, on full blush in review, really didn't provide the kind of pressure that they have in the past. We understood that they maybe were going to try to play a little bit more football under Sandro Schwartz, their first-year head coach. But New York City, even though there were giveaways, and Tavon Gray, who assisted on the game winner, we'll get to that in a moment, and had some decent passes out of the back, decent service, which has been certainly a bane to his existence at fullback on the right side. He still, along with a couple of other mates, gave the ball away in poor places and middle of the park. The thing to note there, and I'm so glad Nick brought it up, is that sometimes winning can cover up things that you still need to focus on and work on, because you could say Philadelphia, Carranza could have done better, right? And then in this match, those giveaways, there were twice when the Red Bulls came close to scoring because of that.
Well, look, let's just go with another CFG guy, Pep Guardiola. There's a reason that Manchester City are the best, one of the best in the world, is because even when they win 6-0, you'll see Pep Guardiola going out there on the pitch and grabbing hold of a Jack Grealish or a Phil Foden or whoever it may be, and just going through parts of the game that he has in his mind at that instant. He can't wait to get back into the locker room. He wants to do it there. He does it on the field. I know Roy Keane has said that he thinks that's for the cameras, but I don't think it is for the cameras. I think it's because Guardiola's got it in his mind. That second, they've just won. The final whistle's gone. They've just won 6-0. They've beaten Burnley or whoever it may be.
Right.
But he has this thing in his head that he knows he has to get across to Grealish or Foden or Haaland or whoever it may be to make them a better player in that instance. Even though they've just won 3 points, they've just won 6-0, there's no such thing as the perfect game. There isn't such a thing. So we can always get better at whatever it may be, whether it's you and I at broadcasting or whether it's Phil Foden, even though he was the player of the season in the Premier League, he can still get better. Of course he can. And Guardiola knows that he can get better as a coach, as does Nick Cushing.
And teams, I spoke with the sporting director, David Lee, for New York City a little bit this morning, and we were I brought it up. It's like, you've won 6 of 7. Your players are coming into New England who have the fewest points in Major League Soccer. They're dead last in the East, dead last in the Supporter Shield rankings. But they're starting their best attacking group of the year because they've lost players due to injury and suspension. So they've got the 3 up top with Carlos Heel in behind that they would have wanted from the outset. But you have to be careful. I know the trite phrase is trap game. I almost don't go for that. But human beings let up sometimes when they know maybe they can just take it a little easier on this occasion. And as David said to me, if we have 1 or 2 players that don't show up today because of that, we could go home with a loss.
Yeah, look, back in England, would say it's a potential banana skin. It is that one that you're going to slip over on, trip over on. Because, human psychology, sporting psychology, you've done so well. After the Lord Mayor's show, another phrase that we use back home, you've just beaten your main rivals in New York Red Bulls. You've performed pretty well, yes, not perfectly. And now you come here and you breathe that sigh of relief. Well, we beat New York Red Bulls, so now we don't, it's not quite, you never think as a player, and I did it over and over again, you never think as a player, I'm going to go out there and just win because the other team aren't very good. But there may be a percentage point or 2 that you just let slip a little bit and you don't focus for maybe the first 2 minutes of the game or 5 minutes of the game. You can be 1-0 down or 2-0 down before you know it. And with Carlos Heel, we know, Glenn, like you and I think we both agree that he's one of the best, if not the best players in MLS. If he has a good day, he can create absolute carnage in the back line of New York City FC. So if there's no such thing in MLS as an easy game, especially with the the parity of the wage bill as well, the way you have to construct a starting 11 and construct a squad as a whole. This will be a tough game, and look, let's be honest, unfamiliar territory, unfamiliar turf. I hated playing on AstroTurf as a player. Luckily, I never did it in my professional game, but even just in training.
I know you didn't get down before the game, but I went down to visit with Corey Rockwell, the assistant referee, on his 377th game. But it's brand new turf, and it seems like it's going to be very slow. I don't know if you could tell in warm-ups. Let's get a look at the field again. I guess nobody's really knocking it around yet to get an idea. But I'm saying it is very thick.
Yeah.
The rubber, the crushed rubber is really dense. So let's see what happens.
We were watching. There was a girls' under 15s, under 16s game.
Oh, right. So there was a game going on. Yeah.
So I saw, and the goalkeeper down to our left, she went to, the ball bounced, and she went to sort of go 3 yards back to make sure it didn't go over her head, and it almost bounced sideways. It had a little bit of a spin on it. The ball then gripped all of those little rubber pellets, and it went sideways. So I know what you're saying is absolutely right. It's going to be very, very slow out there. They'll water it before the game. You can water AstroTurf with all those pellets on as much as you want. It's going to be incredibly slow and turgid, and that doesn't suit NYCFC.
I'm Glenn Crooks, Matty Lawrence. We're getting set for the commentary on this match on the road for New York City. Again, they're going for their third consecutive road victory. It hasn't happened since 2019, April, bridging May. And here today, Carlos Gil, just for a moment, leads MLS in assists since 2019. Yeah. So just to give you some more supporting evidence. And I've put up the New York City starting 11. No great surprises there. Monsef Bakrar. Let's get to him for a moment. How about this scene right here? So this celebration here is with Keaton Parks. That's after he scored the game winner last week in the 64th minute. It was 1-1 at the time. So he gets the game winner in the Hudson River Derby. And you talk about a happy young man and happy teammates and a happy coach, because he sprinted. He just made a beeline for Nick Cushing, his head coach, gave him a hug, said thank you. And we know what that was all about. It was about the fact that Nick Cushing has continued to believe in him, started him for the most part. That was his second consecutive reserve appearance, came off the bench to score. Today he's rewarded. He's back at the 11.
That picture then just really did bring like hairs up on the back of my neck. I know what it's like to be in a team, and the analogy is not quite the same, but when I played at Millwall with a centre forward who was my roommate actually for 6 years at Millwall, Neil Harris, he got testicular cancer, so was out of the game for like 12 months, 18 months. And the first goal he scored when he came back from cancer, there's a picture of him exactly like that, with every one of us teammates lifting him up in the air, because you get behind people who are going through bad things. And look, I know that's a different analogy, but it's the same thing. It's the same sentiment of getting behind teammates when they're going through a bad situation, whatever that may be, health or form. It is very similar. Teams stick together.
It should be a family, right? I mean, you're with these people for more hours in a day, oftentimes, than you are your family.
You are, and when you come on the road, and especially with MLS, with the travelling, the geography of the United States, and you're going over onto the West Coast, and as we know, when it's going to be NYCFC going to LA and then directly to Nashville, it's going to be 10 days together as a team. You know, a pre-season, it was almost 2 months together as a team. So that is real. It is real. It's a family situation. The best teams in the world at whatever level, whatever sport, are the ones that stick together and really do, they stick together through thick and thin, through absolutely anything. And that is why 1 win in 7 wasn't a problem for this team. It was a problem at the time, but now they've overcome that problem. Let's hope, because they've won 6 of the last 7.
All right, Matty, that's the New England Revolution, the home side warming up to our left as we prepare for this broadcast. So since we're on New England, they're under a first-year coach, Caleb Porter. Now, here's what you have to say about Caleb Porter. He's got a winning record overall, 115, 102, and 90 in his MLS career. If you have a winning record over a course of time, there's something to be said for that. He's won 2 MLS Cups, Portland in 2015, Columbus in 2020, guiding a team through the pandemic. You've got to give someone a lot of credit. He's the 13th head coach to coach in 300 MLS games, so he's maintained a certain amount of longevity through that. But here at New England, it's become very difficult. Just 2 wins in their 12 matches, and we talked about 7 points from those 12 games. They're dead last in the overall standings in MLS. And Caleb, he's a guy I like Caleb Porter because he's pretty forward. He's outspoken, and he doesn't really hide anything. I think that's the way he is with his players as well. And so we've heard some things only through social media, nothing confirmed, that maybe there's been a little struggle in the interior. Players talking to the coach, players talking to each other, and maybe at times not in a nice way. But I do want to, you get an indication sometimes post-game when the coaches are addressed by the media, what they're thinking. A guy named Sam Minton, who covers the New England Revolution, asked this question regarding Dave Romney. Now, just to give you a heads up, Romney played every minute of 34 games last year. Now under Caleb Porter, he has started 6 of 8 games, but hasn't played in 3 of the last 4, and in that one game he played for a single minute. So a guy who's been a mainstay is no longer part of the line. That's the setup for this question from Sam post-game after the New England Revolution lost a home match to the Philadelphia Union 3-0.
It's been about a month since Dave Romney's got to start. I guess just overall, what would he have to do to kind of get back into the starting 11 and just, what would it take?
You want him in the starting 11? Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm just asking.
Why? Why are you asking that?
Because he was someone who got a lot of minutes.
Is that like what the fans are saying? Or?
No, because he's got a lot of minutes, especially at the beginning of the year.
I think the 2 center backs playing well. So, anybody else who want to in the starting lineup? I mean, when you're asking that question, you're basically asking why he isn't in the starting lineup. So just ask it.
Okay, why isn't he in the starting lineup?
Because his performances early in the year weren't good enough. And Kessler and Arriaga are playing well right now. So, yeah, anybody else you want to ask about?
Okay. You all set?
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, all right. So, a little tension there in the the post-game wrap. And so that's somebody that's, perhaps under the gun a little bit. And as Nick Cushing was, 1 win in the first 7 games after not making the playoffs in 2023. I address a lot of this with Nick on the pregame show. I encourage you to listen to the pregame show before each game if you have that possibility or chance to, because Nick will elicit things that you might not hear in his weekly presser, and that's at 7:15 p.m. Eastern on the New York City FC network, which is nycfc.com/radio, the NYCFC app, and a TuneIn app is where you also can see it on the or listen to it on the New York City FC network. But so we chuckled during the time we heard the comments.
You could see our shoulders going up and down on the outside of the screen there.
It's like, so anybody else you want to start?
Yeah, and look, a brave journalist as well, which Caleb Porter knows that most of the journalists are. A brave journalist would have gone, anyway. So AB, and would have gone into a whole plethora of players that probably should have been in the starting line. Look, Caleb Porter's been selecting the wrong team. Guess why? Because they've lost 75% of their games. They've only won 17% of their games. This is a very similar squad to the team that last season finished 5th and only just outside of the top 4 berth, the guaranteed home playoff advantage. So, he's doing something wrong. He's not selecting the best players. And look, Dave Romney played every minute of all 34 league games last season, and they finished 5th. So you have every right to ask that question.
You have the right to ask.
But you have to ask questions in the right manner, the right demeanour, and probably pick and choose the moments you ask as well. And when he's going through the turmoil that he's going, it's understandable that Caleb Porter is naturally on the front foot, on the back foot, I should say, incredibly defensive, as you heard there. Yeah. He didn't answer that in a particularly professional manner, like the winning coach that he is.
Yeah, he won at Akron.
He won at Akron, exactly. Won at Portland, won at Columbus, Akron being college, obviously. Then two MLS Cups with Portland and Columbus. He has every right just to go, just look at the medals I've won, look at the cups I've won. Yeah. Why are you questioning me? But again, not to say it in quite an arrogant or aloof manner.
But Porter, we know, now we were discussing this at dinner tonight. So in the All-Star game, he was coaching the MLS All-Star game against Bayern Munich and Pep Guardiola in 2014. Guardiola refused to shake his hand after the game because it was a really physical affair. And the Shaqiri, I mentioned, I forgot Shaqiri even played for Pep at Bayern. He was one of the guys that was chopped down, I think, by Alonso. Well, yeah. So Pep was really upset, and Caleb stuck out his hand like this, kind of, okay, you're not going to shake my hand, I'll just shake it. But one thing Caleb did say after the game, he goes, I really felt bad because, Pep's like my hero. I've really studied what he's done. Now, the next year, this is even better. So Portland just beat Dallas, and Oscar Pereira, the Dallas coach at the time. So this is a pretty famous moment. It's the tissue, post-game tissue. So just watch it here. So here's Caleb, and he's laughing already because Oscar's giving him crap about being a whiner during the game. Caleb points to the scoreboard. We won, and there's the tissue handed by Oscar. And and that was that. So we know he's got a little juice in him.
There might be fireworks over there on the sideline. Then that might be fun.
Nick seems to respect him and understands the predicament he's in, and says, "Look, the guy's a winning coach. He wants to win, and that's part of the issue." So what else? Christian McFarlane, the homegrown for New York City, playing with the England U17s. They are 1-1 in the U17 Euros. They beat France. He played 90 minutes in that one, 4-0 in their opening match. And then before the game, now on my Sirius XM FC show, which I hope you all listen to if you're subscribers, it's called the Coaching Academy. Corey Rockwell, right after there was a settlement between the referees and the union, he came on my show, and he was somebody that was very active on social media in support of his crew, explaining why it was important to get us back because the replacement referees, they don't have the experience, and you're going to have some disasters in MLS games. Well, it took a few weeks, but they finally got it done. But here's myself and Corey before the game, went down and said hi. He's only done 377 games as an AR.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's a lot of games.
Again, we talk about longevity of players. It's just as impressive. Well, not quite as impressive because it's not physical contact, actually. Well, not too often, hopefully, for the referees there is a physical contact. But, yeah, it's impressive to have played in that many or officiated in that many games, that's for certain.
All right, here we go. New York City trying to make it 4 wins in a row. They're trying to win 3 on the road consecutively. They cannot move into second place in the East. They're trying to maintain their position of third. A host of games at MLS tonight, and we'll review that during the course of our live commentary, beginning at 7:15. That's in 8 minutes. We got to get off and get ready on the NYC Network and NYCFC app, TuneIn app, and I hope you'll consider syncing the video and the audio so you can listen to your hometown commentary. Thank you so much for listening and contributing your comments. For Matty Lawrence, I'm Glenn Crooks. Enjoy the game, everybody.